Welcome to the Be Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sky Bradshaw, and today we're embracing the theme of living out loud. Too often we're encouraged to shrink ourselves to fit into expectations, but I believe true freedom comes from stepping fully into who we are. In this episode, we'll explore how shedding societal limitations and embracing joy, authenticity, and self-expression can lead to a more vibrant and fulfilling life. I'll be sharing insights, tools, and reflections to help you embody your truth with confidence. In our Skylight segment, I'll be joined by Susan Sassman, a visionary community builder and creative force who has spent her life curating spaces of celebration, connection, and uninhibited self-expression, who is also the head fairy at Greensboro's summer solstice. We'll dive into what it means to break free from limiting beliefs, surround yourself with those who uplift you, and create a life that feels truly aligned. But before we dive into the Unclouded Heart segment for spiritual messages of wisdom, let's invite ourselves to become present in this moment within our body, mind, and energy. Take a moment to invite some deep and cleansing breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, invite your mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe. So we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good, and the highest and best good of all involved, as we open up space to give and receive. We've been taught to tone ourselves down, to fit neatly into expectations, to make ourselves smaller so that we don't disrupt the world around us. But the truth is, you were never meant to shrink. You were meant to shine. Living out loud isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most authentic. It's about shedding the layers of conditioning that tell us who we should be and embracing who we truly are. Too often we silence ourselves to keep the peace, to be liked, to avoid standing out. But dimming your light doesn't serve anyone, not you, not your community, and not the world. The boldest act of freedom is embracing yourself fully, taking up space, owning your story, and celebrating every piece of who you are. Your quirks, your passions, your joy. These aren't just parts of you. They are your power. And when you stand in that truth, you light the way for others to do the same. Transformation doesn't always arrive as a lightning bolt. More often, it's woven into the quiet, everyday moments, the choice to honor your needs, to move through life with purpose, to surround yourself with those who see and celebrate you. These small acts of self-truth create ripples, shifting not just your world, but the energy of everyone around you. A thriving world begins with thriving individuals. When you live out loud, when you speak your truth, follow what lights you up, and unapologetically embrace who you are, you become a beacon. You remind others that they too are worthy of joy, of expression, of fullness. So let's redefine what it means to show up. Let's release the idea that we must play small to be accepted. Let's normalize celebrating ourselves with the same love and enthusiasm we offer to others. Because when we live in alignment with our truest selves, we don't just uplift our own lives, we uplift the whole. You're not here to be just half of yourself. You are here to be all of you. Let your voice be heard. Let your light be seen. Let your life be lived out loud.
This episode of Be Your Soul is brought to you by Tarot by Sky, your home away from home for intuitive tarot, energy healing, and spiritual growth. Whether you're seeking clarity through a tarot reading, deep healing with an energy session, or powerful tools to align your energy, Sky Bradshaw offers a range of services designed to support your journey. Looking to deepen your spiritual practice? Sky's classes and courses help you tap into your intuition, understand your energetic boundaries, and manifest with purpose. Plus, with exclusive packages and subscriptions, you can receive ongoing guidance whenever you need it. Step into your power with Tarot by Sky, because it's your future. Visit Tarot by Sky to book a session, explore offerings, and start your journey toward alignment today.
In today's episode, I'm delighted to welcome Susan Sassman, a dynamic community builder and creative visionary whose life exemplifies the essence of living out loud. Susan hails from Canada and has made her home in North Carolina since the mid-1970s. Community activism fuels her soul, sharpens her skills, and connects her with thousands of fabulous people. The throngs of interesting characters who have crossed her path bring a wide range of stories and challenges to her life. An extroverted heart, Susan thrives best in a group setting where vision is turned into action. The Greensboro Women's Resource Center was a wonderful journey that helped develop leadership and compassion. The summer solstice brought joy to the forefront and has developed and grown over the past 20 years. Parenting and grandparenting has been a great adventure that Susan had planned for since childhood. Life at 70 proves to be a constant reminder that happiness is a choice and that we've had the power all along, just like those ruby slippers. Susan, thank you so much for being here and sharing your energy with us and your wisdom with our listeners. It is a pleasure and an honor to be able to talk to you. We've moved in the same circles for a really long time, and you do such great work in the community. I really look up to all the things that you do and you in general. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. I love this community, and I love working with the people that want to make a better world. And there's a lot of them here. It's great to find them, to find your people.
And we're lucky to have such a rich and full community here.
Absolutely.
So when talking about, living out loud and expressing yourself fully, I think one of the things that when I do work with people that we're unlearning or, removing the layers of that idea that we have to think small or act small to fit in or what we're supposed to be doing. And I think there's something incredibly powerful about stepping into who we are fully, just embracing living out loud, being seen, being our authentic self, and allowing ourselves to feel free in that. And it doesn't always mean we're the loudest person in the room, sometimes maybe, but not always. But I think that it's this expression of self that, everyone can embrace that gives permission for others to do the same. So what does living out loud mean to you? And what was the turning point for you when you decided to embrace this?
Well, I grew up in the 50s and 60s in Canada in a traditional family. And mom and dad had traditional roles, and I was reared to believe that that was going to be my path as well, and that I should stay small. You could have opinions, but I didn't really speak them too much. I had a lot of opinions and I had a lot of questions when I was growing up, but I stayed on the side of being quiet and adorable and precious and all those adjectives that little girls are taught to be. And it wasn't until my mid-30s that I walked into a NOW meeting quite by accident. And it literally changed my life. I was a mother at that point with 2 small kids. I'd been living a traditional marriage as a traditional woman. I did all the cooking and the cleaning and the childcare. My husband worked and brought home the paycheck, and we were right out of, Leave It to Beaver, really. And then it was the 80s, and I ended up at a Now meeting, and all the lights started to go on. There was a movie they were showing called Killing Me Softly, and it was about how media uses women and their body parts to sell products. Something that probably everybody gets at this point, but I didn't get it until I saw that movie. And really, that flipped my trigger. And I started hanging out with women that were bold, they were bright, they were opinionated, they asked a lot of questions, they made things happen. And I was surrounded by them. And I kept saying things like, I'll just bring the baklava, I'll sit in the back. I don't really have an opinion about politics. I don't know anything about politics. I'm not even an American, I'm a Canadian. But I watched how these women worked their magic, and it became contagious. And by the time I was 40, I was opening the Women's Resource Center with the help of 3 other girlfriends that serviced 10,000 women a year from that point on. So it was a wonderful time. And I also got into karate class with my entire family. And that changed me physically. It really empowered me to feel my muscles and to feel my strength and to feel all of those things that had been hiding inside of me, I think. Mm-hmm. And so getting hit emotionally, getting hit physically with all this new stuff kind of transformed me. And our marriage went through a rocky time because we had both signed up for traditional. And now I was starting to change. And it was great from that point forward. I fell in love with women's causes and looking for like-minded people that I could work with and make things happen. And a lot of my questions about the world just came rushing out. And it was okay. Like, no one got mad. I always did it with a little bit of humor in there too, which kind of softened the blow. But I was writing letters to the editor, and I was standing up with microphones, and I was saying what I believed for the first time really in my life at the age of 36, 37, 38.
Yeah. And I think when we have that passion, when we're in that moment of like, this aligns with my heart, this is my truth, and we couple it with joy or humor or those lighter, higher vibrational, yet still sharp, often, sort of perspectives, then it gives that it doesn't sound like we're, screaming from the rooftops and waving our fists. It is heard from our heart. It is felt from our heart, and other people connect to it in their heart as well. And I think during challenging times, it's really hard to stay in that heart center for some people because we want to, wave swords and scream profanities, and maybe sometimes that's appropriate. But I think we're most heard when we are in that, because this is love, because this is truth, because this is real, this is my heart, hear me. Then others come and do the same in their own spaces. So if you had advice on people, like, for you, from what you're saying, it felt like you were kind of swept into it and it just became truth. Like, what advice would you give for someone to give themselves permission to be brave enough to be swept into that truth?
Well, it's you have to get over the fear of not knowing what's ahead to really embrace the opportunity that's there that you don't even know about yet. And it is kind of scary because many of us like the familiar. And so to step out of your comfort zone and to attend a meeting that has never been on your radar, or to speak the truth in a group of people that you don't know, is frightening. But people kept telling me, and I think I'm pretty sure I was in therapy at the time, so I could couple that with the Now movement and the karate and the therapy to help really understand what was going on inside of me. And people kept telling me that's where the growth is. where you step outside of your comfort zone. When you move through the fear, and we were reading books like Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, truly, when you get through it, it's a wonderful feeling. And it wasn't as scary as you thought. So I guess I would tell people, you're making a bigger deal out of it. It's really not going to be as scary if you just step into it. And, you can always have a fallback plan.
Right.
Yeah, doing scary things. It's like a roller coaster. You do that when you're 8 years old, and it's terrifying, but you love it usually, and you go back. So I might remind people, think of the things that you've done in your life that at first were really scary, getting out on stage and, dancing in front of a crowd, or taking a risk when you were small. Looking back on that kind of gives you some momentum, I think, to know that you can do this. You've done hard things before that were scary. So opening the Women's Resource Center was, kind of mind blowing. Like, how are we going to get this done? We don't really even know what we're doing. We just know that there are lots and lots of women that need a lot of information, and how do we get it to them? And how do we empower people to step into their best self? And so that became our mantra for the next 10 years. And the Women's Center is now 30 years old. But telling people as they walk through the door, you are the leader for whom you have been waiting. And we're going to help you find her in there. And then let's get her up, get her out, and see what she can do. And it has changed. That changed my life. Those 30s, I just can't tell you how exhilarating it was to figure out there was a whole different world out there.
Yeah.
Other than just caretaking and cleaning and cooking and caretaking. It was never enough for me. And I know it's enough for a lot of people, but there were also the mommy wars going on in the 80s. So the women who were at home with children versus the mothers who were dropping their kids with daycare or relatives and going out to work. Lots of conversation all over the television and the news and in our neighborhoods about which is better, and how do you feel about it? So it was an interesting time.
And I feel like that also is part of the concept or understanding of, how people live out loud, because my out loud and your out loud and someone else's out loud can be totally different things. And all of that is okay. And if we are honoring our truth within ourselves and we're not measuring by someone else's measuring stick, we're really just being our soul, being ourself in that space. And that also kind of wraps into the unlayering, because I think what happens is, our shoulds layer over, our self a lot of times. So I should be this, I should do that. And then we have these kind of drapes of shoulds all over us. And then when we start discovering them and they start falling away, mine might look different from yours, but it is just the reveal of this true self. It is just that coming forward. And I think that in those times, it allows for us to know and navigate like which version is right for us, because I'm not looking at your shoulds or what's right for you.
I was noticing in my 30s that most of my girlfriends were suffering from the same issues and problems and challenges that I was. And so we got together and found a therapist that would treat us as a group so that we could afford it, and we named the group High Functioning Women with Low Self-Esteem. I mean, it was a self-esteem issue. And as we did research into the Women's Resource Center, we did find that low self-esteem holds women back tremendously. Not being able to claim what they're good at. Even as simple as creating a barter board and expecting that we could barter with each other. I can cook a Thanksgiving dinner and you can fix my car. I can do this for you and you can do that for me. But the women continually said, I don't really know how to do anything. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That was a really big hurdle. Many of them are just a traditional, girl that was burying a lot of her talents and never really putting them out there.
And that eats in our self-trust. So if we're told that there are these 10 tasks and those are the only 10 tasks you can do, the only 10 tasks you're good at, and we don't get curious and inquisitive and explore and try and figure out what else we might be good at, that eats away at that trust of self. So then we're less likely, to have higher self-esteem or to trust ourselves or to make those risks because we're taught to and conditioned to stay small. So even if it begins with, a seed that was planted, then we end up nurturing that seed and watering that seed instead of going like, this is a weed. I don't want it in my system. How do I get rid of it?
Absolutely. My mom and dad told me that I could go to college and they would pay for it. But the main goal was for me to find a husband and then get married and start having kids. And we all understood that, that was the plan. Never questioned it. I never had a high school counselor that said to me, what would you like to do? Just never happened. She said, you've got 3 choices. You can be a teacher, a nurse, or a secretary. And that was in 1970, right? And you have to pick one. You think of how antiquated that is.
Right. And also still so close to right now. Like you and I are sitting here talking about it, and you're a vibrant person who is living your life in this world. And also that was in your history, like your living history right now. And so I think that it's really important for people to realize, like, while we have come so far, we have so much farther to go, because that was a stone's throw yesterday that was going on.
And it was through the women's movement in the 80s and into the 90s that I really came into my own and started getting on television and getting busloads of people to go to Washington, to march and to protest. And my daughter got to see that. She got to go with me. My mom, who was then in her 70s as well, would come. And it was really wonderful just to see all the lights going on and all the people that I knew, the women that I cared about and spent most of my time with, in just watching it all make sense finally. It was really, really nice. I'm very proud of that.
I think that it is an amazing thing. And that also makes me feel like, one of the concepts I truly believe in is like, when the one is strengthened, the sum is strengthened. That's the podcast. And so by your light going on and you being brave enough to act on it and get curious about it and make motions and then invite others, then the ripple just grows and grows and grows. So sometimes we can feel like this one action isn't going to make a difference. Like when you walked into that first meeting, you didn't know the trajectory it was about to unleash, but it certainly did. So being brave enough to be able to do so can definitely lift us into places we couldn't even imagine before.
And I highly recommend therapy. If you can get it, if you can afford it, or if you can find a place where you can get it on a sliding scale, but being able to process your life with a person who is not, your best friend or a family member, who can be objective and help you understand who you are, ask the right questions, to help you go through that onion and get those layers off is wonderful. I think everybody should be in therapy.
I agree. I agree. Is there anything else about living out loud that you want to share? Any nuggets that you think, you want to make sure to get in?
A couple of things. The fact that I've always loved to dress up in costume and to kind of be out on stage as a child. I did a lot of baton twirling and tap dancing and, all of that. And so that became a part of me living out loud. And then when I found my voice at, 40 pretty much is when I really started to stand up and people started relying on me to say the words that they were thinking. I would be causing some good trouble. And I kind of liked that label because I was always such a good girl. I just really was a good girl.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very liberating for me. I also think being resilient is one of my best qualities, so that when you hit a wall and things look dark and all of your expectations are shattered, you can sink into that sadness for a while. But I got a really strong, resilient gene, I guess, that brings me back up and to go after it again. And I've seen that over and over in my 70 years of life. And I'm happy I've got that one. Of all the things you could have, resiliency, I like it. I'll keep it.
Yeah. And we're humans. We get to make as many choices as we like. So when we come to that position, this isn't working the way that I wanted, or it feels like a wall in front of us. Like that wasn't the last decision we made of our life. We can just lean into solution and figure out like what helps with that, and ask for community connection. So one of the great parts of your dressing up community connection is the summer solstice that I think brings so much joy to so many people's hearts and allows people to, even if it's for a day or, a week as they're planning it, to live that out loud version of themselves. And I think that just having that fun frivolity play, the ability to be able to get into that freedom of self-expression is really powerful and important too, because then it gives us the energy to, the next week when we might be in a corporate job or whatever, like we know we are both, we embrace both.
I really stumbled into my joy around 50. After I found my voice at 40, then I found my joy at 50. And that was the summer solstice, and putting together all the things in the world that made me happy and put them into one event. So music and food and wine and butterflies and sparkles, and imagining that I was a fairy goddess growing up, on a planet where whatever goddesses wanted in their life, they would have it at the solstice. And so that's kind of where we started from. It's morphed over the last 21 years into some other things too, but that was the essence. So this was a festival for grown-up fairies, for women, really, to explore the divine feminine in each of us, to be connected with nature, and to appreciate the bounty of what we have, the kinship in our community. Bring your children, bring your significant other, dress up, dance in the moonlight. And that vibe has always carried through the solstice. And I'm really happy that when I mention it to people out in public, have you ever heard of the solstice, or are you going to the solstice? Big smiles, a lot of big smiles, and like, oh yes, I would never miss it. That really makes me happy.
It's brought so much joy to so many people. I know people who travel who've moved away and come back now, and all. It's such a beautiful event.
Thank you. And it's coming up June 21st.
You're excited.
Year 21. Yeah. I know.
Nice.
Well, figuring out more of what you love is very essential to keep you happy. And I think being happy is a nice way to get up every day, to figure out what is going to fill my soul, what makes me happy, and even, make a list of the things. And so many of us get depressed from time to time. And as girlfriends, I always go to my depressed friend and say, okay, where's your list of happy things? Like, how can we get you to a happy place? What do you like? What do you love? And a lot of people don't really know, but it's a good thing to think about.
It really is. And that's part of knowing yourself, because you can't live out loud if you don't know what that looks like to yourself. And that's where getting in tune with who you are, and, and recognizing that version is really important. And, we're in that space of like, if I am the best version of me in this moment, then I can express that, I can connect to that, I can share that. And then that ripple happens, from the beginning to wherever it ends up, whether it's solely for me and my 5 friends, or whether it's the whole community of people having a summer solstice festival. Like it all starts knowing yourself and knowing your joy and fulfilling that in that way.
I should teach that in, grade school. Let's have a happiness class. Let's talk about what makes people happy around the world and in our classroom and in your heart, so that you really know that when you're down and sad, that playing with a puppy is something that'll really make you happy.
Right.
chocolate ice cream. I don't know. Dressing up in a tutu, sipping a hot cup of tea and sitting in the sun and feeling it on your face. And gosh, there's a million things
Right, right.
that make us happy. So do more of that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I ask every guest 3 questions, the same questions for every guest. And the first one is, what do you think it means to be your soul?
Well, I think of the word integrity, which is your belief system matching your behavior. And so with the inside is in line with what you're doing on the outside, what you're speaking, what you're doing, how you're behaving. If that lines up with what you think and what is in your heart, then that is very soulful. There's like no distinction between those two. It's one ball of wax. I think a lot of the time we do things that we know are not what we want to do, and it doesn't really resonate with us. But whether it's peer pressure or a lack of judgment or whatever, you do it, and knowing intuition wise, it wasn't really a good idea. So paying attention to your intuition, I think, is really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Integrity. I like the word. I think you can never go wrong. Show up and tell the truth. Have integrity. Be you because everybody else is taken. Be the best you. Kind of an Oprah thing, right?
Yeah.
Live your best life. Be the best you can. And even Melania Trump was her be best. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Be best. Yeah, yeah. It's not a competition. It's just
Right.
development of who you are, and it takes a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things about myself now at 70 that I never could have handled or figured out at 30 or 19, so.
And it's all in divine timing. Like something I thought I knew at 30, I know differently now at 50. And so that is, that's our truth as well, because the more we know ourselves, the more is revealed in how we align with things, the more refined and calibrated things become. So I think that that's okay too, to not go, I should have known that, instead of going like, this is what I know now. Here I am.
Right. Like, I wonder what I'm going to learn today. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And from every mistake, you have a learning curve. And so it's better just to look at it that way, what I'm learning today and what am I passing along. So passing the torch is something that has been on my mind a lot lately in my family unit, in my community, because I'm starting to get a little tired, and which is the way it should be. And want to share what I know and what I've learned and give it to other people so that they can walk that walk.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, what's one self-care practice that you do to fuel your energy?
That afternoon nap is awesome. It's just the best. I know a lot of people can't do a nap because then they can't sleep at night, but I love the nap.
Nice.
2 or 3 in the afternoon. Even if you don't really sleep, you just lay there and you just relax and clear your mind, you meditate or whatever. And there was a time when I was a little, ashamed of napping, I guess. Yeah, that you try to cover it up and like not cop to it. I didn't have a nap today.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh yes, I love that. I also love the morning, taking my time to wake up, get into my body, get into my head, drink my coffee, not move too quick, I also think that not speaking for 30 minutes after you wake up, if you're living with somebody, or even like, don't answer the phone, don't talk. Take 30 minutes, get centered, get ready for your day, and then go. Because there was a time when I would jump out of bed, hit the ground running, and tear off into my day with my checklist of things to do. And because I was trying to be such a good helper, to everyone, because I was a good girl, and that's what good girls do, it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
a couple kids in there too. And then, now you're totally exhausted, but there's nothing left for you at the end of the day.
Right.
That's what happened with Betty Friedan when she came out with her book that also changed my life, The Feminine Mystique. And they talked about the illness that had no name. And it was the mothers of America who were putting themselves last. After a while, it just eats away at your soul. You're all wrapped up in your kids and your husband and making things work for everybody, that there you are.
And the thing that we forget in that, because it's been ingrained in us to give, and sacrifices love and all of those things, is that when we deplete ourselves and there's nothing left, then what happens? So if we feed our soul, if we bring ourselves, if we realize, like, if I fill my tank and then what I have spilling over, I give to others, then I'm always full. And it allows me to give in a greater, in a different way, in a non-sacrificial, in a way that is heart-centered and loved-based. And so, like, the trick of the mind is like, you should give, before you take. And it's like, well, I always joke and tell people, they're like, well, if there's one piece of cake, do you give it or do you take it? And I'm like, I get a knife. Like, why do we need, why is there a different option? Like, we can all have cake. It's okay.
I celebrate the entire month of my birthday. It's my birthday month.
Mm-hmm.
And every day of that month, I just do things that light up my soul, whatever that is. It's not about money. It's not about parties. It's just about, taking a bubble bath, or, today I'm going to go and buy myself a beautiful flower, one beautiful flower. And every day just kind of tapping into, whatever it is that makes me happy. Now, why can't we do that every day? Not just birthday month, right? And my husband does say, how is that different from any other day in your life? We have kind of mastered that. What about me? And it took me till about 60 to get there. But now I love all of what you're talking about. Just really speaks to me. And I wish I had known these things earlier in my life. But
Right.
what are you going to do? Now is as good a time as any. Mm-hmm. So taking good care of the child within, making sure I do more of what I love, working on passing the torch, taking those naps, still going to therapy.
Yeah.
Going to therapy, still getting out in the streets with a microphone and trying to do good work, cause good trouble. I have a very good life. I'm really happy with it.
Well, you cultivated it. Like you created it. You
welcome to the life you have created.
Exactly.
Sure. And lots of things happen along the way that I wasn't expecting, lots of detours, knowing that you've got it in yourself to solve those problems. And if you don't, you've got people that love you, that can help, that there's more time, there's more help. Don't get distressed. If you get distressed, do more of what you love. It doesn't seem like it's all that hard, but for some people who are really taken down by deep depression, I mean, that's just a really sad, lonely place.
Yeah. And I think the more that we can bring that example, obviously depression has a lot of layers and there's a lot of things. And, the one thing I always remind people is like, when you're depressed, seeing the light, is really difficult. And that's where having good examples, good support people, good community, not allowing the isolation to embrace the depression, but to honor whatever is needed in it, but also realize you're not alone. And that, I think, being that example when we are that, and then recognizing we have that example if we are in depression, both sides of the coin can exist in one space.
And things can change on a dime, right? Wake up tomorrow morning, your whole life is different. So yeah, it's life. It is a great journey. It's a great adventure. I plan to have as much fun along the way as possible. And when I'm not having fun anymore, I'm leaving. So
sounds like a deal.
Yeah, and the solstice just fills my heart. It just does. That whole fairy goddess movement from my childhood just still lives in me. And that makes me smile.
Do you want to shout out the website so people who aren't maybe from Greensboro and don't know about it might be able to look into it?
Greensboro, summersolstice.com. And we have a brand new website that was just designed, and we're going to have a great attendance this June. I think people are really jonesing for some community and some joyful living. It's kind of dark right now in many ways. So, yeah, put on your wings and come out and bring your glitter and, sip on a libation and sit under a tree and watch the mermaids and, make it a day. Make it a day. Kids are free. $10 for adults. Can't beat that.
I know. And it's such a beautiful event. It's such a beautiful event. I highly recommend everyone should do it. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been such a pleasure and a joy to talk to you. And I appreciate your time and wisdom.
Thank you. I love what you're doing too. So stay with it. You've got a great light that comes out, in your eyes and your smile and in your energy. So yeah, bring it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear listeners, for being part of this conversation on Living Out Loud. Your presence in this space is a reminder that authenticity has the power to inspire, and that when we embrace our truth, we create space for others to do the same. By choosing to show up fully as yourself, you're not only shaping your own journey, you're contributing to a world where self-expression, joy, and connection thrive. We are so grateful for you and the energy you bring to this shared journey. Keep shining, keep speaking, and keep living out loud.
This episode of Be Your Soul is brought to you by Little Energies, a beautiful collection of chakra-aligned tools designed to help children connect with their emotions, energy, and intuition. Created by Sky Bradshaw, Little Energies makes self-awareness fun and accessible through books, journals, and oracle cards that empower kids to understand their own energy in a simple, engaging way. These tools provide a gentle, supportive way to introduce mindfulness, emotional balance, and energetic boundaries to the little ones in your life. With the Little Energies bundle pack, kids can explore their inner world with confidence and curiosity. Give the gift of self-awareness and energetic wellness. Visit littleenergies.com to explore the full collection and bring balance to the next generation.
In this segment, I offer tools and guidance I have found helpful in my practice, and maybe you will too. So let's get connected and talk about reclaiming your reflection so you can fully live out loud. We spend so much of our lives looking in mirrors, checking our appearance, adjusting our expressions, making sure we're presentable to the world. But how often do we truly see ourselves? Not just the surface, but the soul beneath it. For many of us, looking in the mirror is tangled with judgment, doubt, or even avoidance. Mirror affirmations are a powerful way to shift this relationship, to transform your reflection into a source of strength rather than scrutiny. When we speak words of affirmation directly to ourselves, we begin to rewire old narratives, replacing self-criticism with self-compassion and self-doubt with self-confidence. So today we will do a mirror affirmation for reclaiming your reflection. Let's begin with presence. Find a mirror, large or small, it doesn't matter. Stand or sit comfortably in front of it. Take a deep breath. Now take another. Before you even speak a word, allow yourself a moment to simply be here in your own presence. Look at yourself with care, curiosity, and openness, the way you might look at someone you love. No agenda, no rush, just acknowledgement. Notice your eyes, the way they hold your history. Notice the lines, the curves, the unique structure that makes you, you. Let yourself see beyond the surface and explore the depths of your energy, emotions, and soul. If emotions arise, like resistance, discomfort, or maybe even tears, that's okay. That's part of the process. You're meeting yourself in a new way. And sometimes that can bring up years of conditioning that told you to shrink, to be small, to not take up too much space. But here, right now, you are giving yourself permission to see yourself fully. Take as much time as you need. Breathe into this moment before moving on. Then, when you're ready, begin to speak your truth. Say out loud affirmations that affirm your worth. Start simple. I am worthy of taking up space. My voice matters. I am allowed to be seen and heard. Say each one slowly. Let the words land in your body. Speak with intention. You might feel a shift, a catch in your throat, a flutter in your chest, or even laughter. That's all okay. You're unraveling patterns that may have been in you for years. Simply notice what comes up without judgment. Hold yourself gently. There is no right or wrong. This moment just is. You're doing deep work, and your body and your heart are responding. Because the work of seeing yourself is ever changing and always growing, this is not a one-time ritual. Invite this practice into your life as a daily act of devotion to yourself. Keep returning to the mirror each morning, each night, or whenever you need reminding. Over time, begin to personalize your affirmations. I am powerful in my softness. I deserve to be heard and valued. I trust myself and my journey. I live out loud, unapologetically. Notice what begins to shift. The words might feel less foreign. You may find yourself speaking more kindly to yourself throughout the day, standing taller, or interrupting old stories before they take hold. The way you show up for yourself in the mirror becomes the way you move through the world, with more ease, more clarity, and a deeper sense of wholeness. And what can you expect if you stick with this? In the beginning, it may feel awkward, even silly. You might hear an old voice whispering that is self-indulgent or unnecessary. But give it time. Keep showing up. You'll begin to notice a shift. Your reflection will become less of a stranger and more of an ally. Your voice will feel stronger. You'll walk into rooms differently, rooted in your own presence and your own enoughness. So I invite you to let this practice be a mirror, not just of your face, but of your truth. This isn't just about saying kind things to yourself. It's about reclaiming the relationship you have with your own being. It's about standing within yourself, speaking love over your life, and choosing again and again to believe in the beauty that's already within you. You are worthy. You are powerful. You're allowed to be seen and heard. And the more you believe that, the more the world begins to mirror it back to you. The more you lean into that truth, the more living out loud becomes not just something you do, but who you are. May you be well. May you find truth. May you feel whole. And may you be blessed. And may you forever be your soul.
If this exercise sparked an aha moment for you and you're craving more, be sure to visit our Patreon. This month, you'll find a guided video tutorial that walks you through the practice with deeper support and clarity. Patreon is a beautiful way to show your appreciation for the heart and effort behind this podcast. And for about the price of one fancy coffee each month, you'll receive master-level exercises and more to support your growth. You can find the Patreon link, all our episodes, guest information, the virtual classroom, and everything Be Your Soul at www.beyoursoul.org.